A former president and current candidate being shot. Big deal.
And now he's going to read the headlines when it was a breaking news story and nobody knew what was going on, and he's going to read the headlines in the first minute. I wonder if he's going to publish Fox News' headline, because Fox News was just like the rest. President fell down, pulled off stage, whatever. Fox News is the same breaking news headlines. Is that what he's about to do?
Trump has scored it away after loud noises.
What's the plan here? That they're all gonna lie and say that Trump didn't get shot? The media's wait for the facts of Trump's shooting fed a backlash. Most journalists would rather be right than first with the news.
The Trump assassination was this an inside job? We now know.
I think you have brain worms.
This idea of the leaks and the high-level lawmakers and AOC going on in TikTok and it's like, Jesus, what the is happening?
I'm not gonna put you on the spot because...
On the spot for what?
Well, I could.
For what? What am I on the spot for? This?
Yeah, it's illegal to try to kill a candidate for president. Good night, everyone. Okay, all right. But what happened to Donald Trump and the people at his rally was disturbing and wrong. I think I speak for the vast majority of Americans in expressing that they are glad he was not assassinated. And to the people who died and were injured, they have my deepest condolences. Such acts are the antithesis of our democratic system. And I'm sorry that Donald Trump was shot with a gun. It really seems like we should be able to put some common sense regulations on those kinds of weapons. And hey, I'm just gonna say something really controversial. Whether it's a candidate for president or a school full of children, people should not shoot them with guns. Now, at this juncture, the FBI has still not pinned down the motive for why Thomas Crooks tried to assassinate Trump at his Pennsylvania rally last Saturday afternoon, killing one person and injuring 3 more, including Trump. But this act of violence raises a host of legal questions. What crimes would he have been charged with if he lived? Could his parents face liability? Could there be liability for the security failures? And is there liability for the heated rhetoric leading up to the assassination attempt? But here are the facts as we know them at the time of the liability for the security failures. And is there...
What crimes would he have been charged with? I mean, if he was trespassing on private property, what do you have, criminal trespass? You've got murder. Wait. It would be murder 1, even for the guy that got shot in the background, right? Because if you're intentionally trying to murder one person, but then you miss and you murder the person behind them, doesn't the mens rea carry over to the second? So I think you would have murder 1, and then you'd have attempt murder on Trump, and then maybe trespass, maybe possession or use of a deadly weapon. I don't know how much you'd stack those on. Maybe, I don't know. Could his parents face criminal liability? I want to say no, because this guy wasn't a minor, so I don't know how you would ever get them there, unless they were part of a conspiracy with him to they drove him there knowing that he was going to kill them or something, or shoot at somebody. Could there be liability for security failures? Not criminal liability, unless they were criminally negligent, right?
Their liability for the heated rhetoric leading up to the assassination attempt. But here are the facts as we know them at the time of this filming. 20-year-old Republican Thomas Matthew.
Congratulate Jader on his new job at CrowdStrike. He made his first deploy today. Good job, Jader. We're proud of you.
Crooks climbed up onto a rooftop 150 yards from the stage where Donald Trump was holding a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. He fired an AR-style .556 caliber semi-automatic rifle towards the stage, killing 50-year-old fireman Corey Comparatore, wounding 2 others and striking Trump in the right ear.
You follow Destiny, now's the time to watch him, because this is his downfall. This is the end of Destiny right here. And I told Mike this, and Mike was like, oh man, he's going to be on CNN tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, for what? For having the meltdown that he's having right now? You got to remember that Destiny, Jasmine Jafar, Farah, Pixie, Not So Erudite. Let's see.
We're on the same. We're all in the same universe in his mind. Yeah, that's Destiny. Doesn't he do political commentary next to the OnlyFans girls that debate on the Red Pill shows? And Pixie's lumped in with these people too. Is it all just are we just one entity to him, or what? Trump pull a BS version of Putin's temporary stint as prime minister by becoming VP under Vance in 2028 and thus skirting term limits and maintain. I don't know how any of that works.
Philion, I can't remember the rest of these guys. These are people who were political operatives. Their influence was bought by a political action committee that goes by the name Progressive Victory. They are the ones who are out. In fact, I would not be surprised if this Thomas Matthew Cook is not also part of Progressive Victory. I would not be surprised, or has made donations or has some sort of connection. That's why these guys are twisting in the wind right now, trying to figure out what their narrative is going to be. Because now you took a shot at previously a formerly standing president, and this is the result of that. This is the product of you guys and your rhetoric being bought and paid for by political action committees since 2022, since July of 2022. That's at least by my record. Sam Drismala, who is the administrator, the guy that maybe he's the owner or the creator of Progressive Victory, admittedly started.
Okay, true. We trained with the shooter the other day, actually.
Now, one of my favorite parts about this was the mainstream media's attempt to completely downplay what happened. This was a presidential assassination attempt that happened live on TV. This will go down in American history books, much like the Reagan failed assassination attempt. A former president and current candidate being shot. Big deal. And we were met with headlines from...
And now he's going to read the headlines when it was a breaking news story and nobody knew what was going on, and he's going to read the headlines in the first minute. I wonder if he's going to publish Fox News's headline, because Fox News was just like the rest. President fell down, pulled off stage, or whatever. Fox News is the same breaking news headlines. Is that what he's about to do? Let's find out.
From, for example, Washington Post, Trump escorted away after loud noises in Pennsylvania rally. ABC News, Donald Trump escorted off stage by Secret Service during rally after loud noises ring out in crowd. Or my favorite, Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally.
6 minutes ago, by the way.
Secret Service rushes
6 minutes ago, by the way.
Trump off stage after he falls at rally. I know journalists aren't people, but...
Jesus Christ, this is why it's so embarrassing to identify as a gun owner, and I'll never do it. I never introduce myself as a Second Amendment guy or gun owner guy, because then you're in the company of these retards who literally every single thing they see is like through the lens of like, liberal bad. I mean, it's the same as every anti-woke dipshit online. God, it's so retarded.
They surprise even me. Spike Cohen chimed in, if CNN had been around in 1963, JFK falls really, really hard at rally in Dallas.
You know what? Oh, well, what can we find JFK headlines right after assassination attempt? Are there like radio broadcasts or news broadcasts for like right when it happened? It wouldn't be newspapers because those are printed with enough time to know what's going on. News wasn't 24/7 then. There was no radio. There was no... Hold on, Jesus, me. I have to just not stream. Okay, a million of you retarded asswipes keep typing in chat. He was obviously dead. His head exploded. He's obviously dead. His head exploded. If you're reporting news, you understand that it's not just like a guy sees a thing and the stuff from his brain is transmitted like instantaneously into everybody else's brain, right? Like somebody has to witness a thing, there has to be a call made, people are writing shit down. There's 0% chance. There's 0% chance that somebody sees he thinks he sees a good shot, he calls like, I need you to put something right now, put right now, and the guy gets the phone call and he's like, what'd you say? Oh, president assassinated? Yeah, we're gonna run right now. We're gonna run right now. He's dead, he's head exploded. Holy fuck, you guys are fucking retarded. Where is RTBA? RTBA, I'll PayPal you $20 if you IP ban for 90 days every fucking retard in chat that just said head exploded, okay? Give me your PayPal, I will do it. Go through the logs and find him. Every fucking retard that said his head exploded.
Shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
RTBA, $50. Please go through and ban them for 90 days. Ban everybody. Thank you. Thank you for letting me hear that. Seriously wounded, but his head exploded.
And almost exactly 1 hour after his initial bulletin,
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
They said 1:40, so an hour and 10 minutes later? No, they said, I believe they said 1:40 EST. This is reported here at 12:30 CST. 12:30 CST is 1:30 EST, and they reported this first report was 1:40. Initial reports 9/11.
Crashed? Jim, just a few moments ago, something believed to be a plane crashed into the South Tower of the World Trade Center.
Crashed? Believed to be a plane? What?
I just saw flames inside. You can see the smoke coming out of the tower. We have no idea what it was. It was a tremendous boom.
You didn't know what it was? It was a plane. Everybody saw it. What do you mean?
Moments ago, you can hear around me emergency vehicles heading towards the scene. Now, this could have...
Destiny, you're triggered. I am triggered. I'm triggered because you guys are so fucking retarded that this is the standard of media consumption that you're at. In my country, you wouldn't be allowed to vote, okay? Quote me on that one, Piers, okay? You wouldn't qualify. You'd have a full-time caretaker. For somebody to try to prove media bias, okay, by looking at a breaking news article, all right, is beyond stupid. Like, it shows on so many different levels your intelligence has failed. On so many different levels, your intelligence has failed, okay? In order to make this, one, you're just ignoring the fact that, oh, it's breaking news. Who the f knows that it was? Two, you don't actually know what happened initially. Like, there was blood on his ear. Some people say it was glass. Some people say it was bullets. Some people didn't know initially. Like, it's just such a stupid, and then you're using this to prove what? To prove media bias? That, like, let's just assume for one micro nanosecond, okay? What's the plan here? That they're all gonna lie and say that Trump didn't get shot, and then it comes out that he did get shot, and now they've... I need a media guy that just like makes banger tweets for me. That's what I need. Like, I need like the video, and then I need this juxtaposed with like, I need a TikTok guy. Email August or me. I need a guy that makes banger TikToks after every stream, okay? People like this should be getting eviscerated. It's the weakest part of my media presence right now. I need people constantly making, okay, banger TikTok, Twitter, whatever the videos, all right? This is so stupid.
Around in 1963, JFK falls really, really hard at rally in Dallas. I mean, anybody who watched the video...
Like what? Like when you run to the bathroom too quickly and you even pulled your diaper all the way up? Like that kind of fall?
Immediately knew what happened. It's fucking crazy for them to throw up their hands almost like maliciously. Like, oh, I don't know.
Maliciously, oh yeah.
Could have been anything. Especially with how serious of a event this was. This one from the Babylon Bee. CNN, clumsy Trump hits head on a...
Does anybody have the first... Hold on. Fox News, rally, shooting, Trump. Fox News published the exact same headline, by the way. Well, not like exactly the same, but they published like accident or president falls or president taken off stage. Fuck, does anybody have an archive of it? I saw it. I saw this headline. I'm pretty sure I saw an even weaker headline initially. This is Trump rally halted by security incident. Although, I don't know what the f I'm looking at here. What is this browser from... What am I looking at? Sir, what do you... This isn't the same one that I saw before, but... How the media's wait for the facts and Trump shooting fed a backlash. Most journalists would rather be right than first with the news, but some readers raged at cautious early reporting published when the full dimensions of the tragedy were not yet clear. Why not just wait an hour before publishing something? I genuinely appreciate good journalists on New York Times, FT, The Atlantic, etc., but I do wish they didn't engage in immediate coverage. What do you mean? Because people love immediate coverage. Everybody loves immediate coverage. Even you guys like immediate coverage. You guys get mad when I don't cover breaking news and shit. Everybody loves immediate coverage.
They're hanging me tonight. Oh, didn't really get a chance. The sniper's job. It's 0. Yeah, a lot of people went straight to the conspiracy route right off the bat, which...
Okay. Which is what you just did, by the way, but okay. We see the social pressure / bullying in action by the little piss baby fucking conservatives. Hey, Asmongold, your top comments even agree that your take on Brandon's hat sucks. And he goes through and he screenshots the comments, trying to bully Asmongold into changing his opinion. Seriously? I know a lot of people think I'm wrong, but I really don't think so. The hat says make politicians afraid again. I think this can easily and reasonably be interpreted as an implication of violence. I like you and Brandon. I just think the hat is in poor taste. Roger Dodger, I respect your opinion. Just don't agree with it. Hope you've been good. Wait, is that really like a thing they have right now? Seriously? Or are these from older videos? Oh, it's just Demo Ranch merch.
I'm sure there will be a lot of people watching this video who do not know me, who are new to this channel, and are just checking in based on recent occurrences. So, for those who are new, for those who do not know me, my name is Matt Carricker. I am a Texas-based YouTuber, and this is my YouTube channel. Demolition Ranch is a firearms-centered channel. I also have Off the Ranch Matt Carricker channel, which is a blog-type channel, and then I'm also a veterinarian, and so I have Vet Ranch, which is a veterinary-centered channel. And across the board, across all of my videos, we really don't talk about politics at all. We keep politics out of it. For one, it's not my bread and butter, but also I don't feel the need to impose my political views and beliefs on other people, and so we generally just stay away from the topic of politics. However, we were obviously kind of thrust into the conversation after last weekend. So before I go any further, to the family of the victim who died during the Trump shooting, man, I'm so sorry for your loss. It's terrible, and I hate that happened to him and to you guys, and wishing you guys the best from here. That's the worst company.
Is this even related to him, or? Oh, at Demolition Ranch. Is this the Demolition Ranch merch shit? Okay, we're gonna do the three timestamp investigation, okay? Edging YouTube's new gun rules. That's a good video to check. Boom. And boom. It's not his merch. He is the distributor / supplier of the merch for Brandon. Okay. Okay. 3 times. Let's go. Oh, we'll go to the most replayed.
Parts being attached to guns, including putting a suppressor on a gun. They said that was explicitly illegal. Gave me strikes and deleted the videos, and I went ahead and privated all the other videos just so I wouldn't get any more strikes. That was fine. I complied. So then they made some other rules where you couldn't sell firearms online, which that didn't bother me because I don't ever sell firearms online. Then they started talking about you couldn't have any gun parts being attached to guns, including putting a suppressor on a gun. They said that was explicitly illegal. We got a video deleted and a channel strike from that. We actually fought back on that one because that was stupid. And YouTube said, oh yeah, you're right, that's stupid.
A couple of weeks ago, YouTube changed a whole bunch of rules for gun YouTube shit, and it's unhinged. I think it makes the channels basically unviable. It's really, really, really wacky. That's what he's talking about right now.
They reinstated my video and said we're all good. So now YouTube just came out with some updated rules in their firearms policy, and some of them are bad and they're definitely going to affect. Before, they don't love machine guns, which is what this is. This is a full auto pre-86 machine gun. This is an AK-47. They didn't like them, but it was only for advertiser-friendly content. They would say this is not advertiser-friendly, and they demonetize the video. So they have a whole list of rules, and I can put that in the description below. But one...
Video 1, pass, okay. No politics. Okay, he passed. He passed the 2 YouTube video check. That is a certified non-political channel.
Question about the Trump assassination is, was this an inside job? We now know that Trump security was shifted from the Secret Service over to another group called Homeland Security Investigations. And this came out from Josh Hawley, a senator who tells us that there was a whistleblower who is now explaining what actually happened. And so Hawley sent this one out to the X universe. It's gotten a bunch of views here, and it says that whistleblowers tell me that most of Trump's security detail.
The ultimate in inside jobs, implicating dozens or hundreds of federal agents, of people in planning, of people concocting and scheming. Who knows who had knowledge of this? A switch up of teams that nobody thought to ask questions about, that was passed off as being authentic. All of it hinging on some autistic 22-year-old dipshit kid who can't hit shots in a prone position 150 yards away with an AR-15. Staging an assassination and not picking a good shooter. Oh, maybe they ran out of money by that point.
Working the event last Saturday, J13, were not even Secret Service. It was some other group from Homeland.
My wild conspiracy is that Melania hired the kid. Okay, back to this video from the start of the stream. No more links.
Crooks allegedly fired as many as 8 rounds before Secret Service sniper shot Crooks dead. Reports say that Crooks purchased 50 rounds of ammunition on the day of the shooting, and investigators later found 2 improvised explosive devices in his car and another in his home. Crooks' profile seems to be similar to other shooters in his age range in that he was troubled, interested in firearms, and struggling to figure out what to do with his life. He was asked to leave the high school gun club because he was a poor shot. He wore hunting gear and camouflage to school, and some students bullied him for it. One classmate told the New York Times, quote, "Those other kids would always say, hey, look at the school shooter over there." They would tease him about his poor hygiene, his body odor. He was an easy target. 2 months before the shooting, Crooks earned an associate's degree in engineering science from Allegheny County Community College, and although the University of Pittsburgh had accepted him, Crooks decided not to attend school. Like many other school shooters, he was described as a loner. In other ways, Crooks differs from other mass shooters. He apparently left virtually no online footprint, and although Crooks was a registered Republican, he was too young to vote in the 2020 election. His father was registered as a Libertarian and his mother a Democrat. The younger Crooks had a job as a dietary aide at a nursing home and was a member of the local gun club. And there's some evidence that he was researching the DNC and other prominent politicians, both Republicans and Democrats, and it's possible he just wanted to kill a politician and that the Trump rally just happened to be closer to his home. But at the moment, we don't know. Now, after the shooting, the FBI immediately took over the case from local police. A spokesman said that they were investigating the shooting as a potential domestic terrorism act, and as of right now, the FBI believes that Crooks acted alone and that there are currently no public safety concerns. At present, we have not identified an ideology associated with the subject, but I want to remind everyone that we're still very early in this investigation. So if Crooks had survived, what would he have been charged with? Well, to start with murder and attempted murder for killing 1 person and wounding 3 others. But there would have been other criminal charges as well. Generally, those are state crimes, and there's no doubt that Crooks would have been charged with attempted first-degree murder. In Pennsylvania, that is a criminal homicide that constitutes murder of the first degree when it is committed by an intentional killing. There seems little doubt that he tried to intentionally kill Donald Trump, but was unsuccessful. And during the course of his attempted murder in the first degree, he ended up killing a bystander. Now, that would have made him liable for murder in the second degree, because murder in the second degree under Pennsylvania law is their felony murder rule. In the course of committing the felony of attempted murder in the first degree, he wound up killing a second person, which would have made him liable for murder in the second degree. But given the high-profile nature of things and the fact that the target was a president...
What? Who initially linked this video and they said, oh, he quoted the wrong, or he quoted the law completely incorrect? What is that, not right, or...
presidential candidate, I'm sure the feds certainly would have wanted to crack at it too. Now, the presidential assassination statute, yes, there actually is one, 18 U.S.C. 1751, makes it a federal offense for anyone to assault, kill, or kidnap, or attempt to conspire to kill or kidnap the president and vice president of the United States, among others. But since according to most right-thinking people, Donald Trump is not the current president of the United States, he is only a former president, he'd be covered by a different statute. 18 U.S.C. 879 prohibits knowing and willful threats to kill, kidnap, or inflict bodily harm against the following categories of persons who are protected by the United States Secret Service. 1, a former president or a member of the immediate family of a former president. And 3, a major candidate for the...
This is where he is wrong, because attempted murder cannot be the underlying felony for felony murder. Am I really about to go down some autistic fucking law research because you want to be, like, retardedly nitpicky over this?
Public safety concerns. At present, we have not identified an ideology associated with the subject, but I want to remind everyone that we're still very early in this investigation. So if Crooks had survived, what would he have been charged with? Well, to start with murder and attempted murder for killing one person and wounding 3 others. But there would have been other criminal charges as well. Generally, those are state crimes, and there's no doubt that Crooks would have been charged with attempted first-degree murder. In Pennsylvania, that is a criminal homicide that constitutes murder of the first degree when it is committed by an intentional killing. There seems little doubt that he tried to intentionally kill Donald Trump, but was unsuccessful. And during...
I think that the person is getting at is that you can't merge other killing crimes to be a felony murder. Otherwise, you could put third degree into felony murder. No, what the other person is probably getting at is they're an ass-pained conservative, and I recommended Legal Eagle, and he probably doesn't like Legal Eagle because he only gets all of his information from Donald Trump-approved lawyers. And because I recommended this guy, he's going to like nitpick to the fucking 20 millionth degree, whatever thing he thinks is incorrect, so that he can say, the next time I recommend Legal Eagle, he go, oh, well, actually, he gave a bad legal notice. 100%. I'm in his brain. I know exactly what he's thinking.
During the course of his attempted murder in the first degree, he ended up killing a bystander. Now, that would have made him liable for murder in the second degree, because murder in the second degree under Pennsylvania law is their felony murder rule.
A criminal homicide constitutes murder of the second degree when it is committed while defendant was engaged as a principal or an accomplice in the perpetration of a felony. Felony murder rule, Pennsylvania. Murder of the second degree. A criminal homicide constitutes murder of the second degree when it is committed while defendant was engaged as a principal or an accomplice in the perpetration of a felony. The act of the defendant in engaging in or being an accomplice in the commission of or an attempt to commit or flight after committing or attempting to commit robbery, rape, or deviant sexual intercourse by force or threat of force, arson, burglary, or kidnapping. The act of the defendant in engaging in or being an accomplice in the commission of or an attempt to commit or flight after committing or attempting to commit robbery, rape, or deviant sexual intercourse. Okay, so he's probably incorrect here. He's wouldn't probably get charged with this because I think the constitutes murder. The second it's committed while defendant was engaged as a principal. So he was just incorrect here. Yeah. Okay.
Donald Trump, but was unsuccessful. And during the course of his attempted murder in the first degree, he ended up killing a bystander. Now, that would have made him liable for murder in the second degree, because murder in the second degree under Pennsylvania law is their felony murder rule. In the course of committing the felony of attempted murder in the first degree, he wound up killing a second person, which would have made him liable for murder in the second degree. But given the high profile...
Okay, there you go. I hope you're happy. I don't know about this state, but in a lot of states, felony murder applies to a specific list of things. The ones you just read, not every single felony. Yeah, but when it comes to like especially felony murder, like every state, even for first, second, third degree murder, what people say is every state is like different on. Every state is different in terms of how all of the rulings work for it.
Today, I'm talking with John Eastman, who was one of Trump's election lawyers in the 2020 election. John has been accused of being the mastermind behind what those...
Destiny knows better than the lawyer, obviously. It'd be like asking like a software engineer some question about some fucking language that they've never learned before. And then you look it up and the guy's like, oh, I think it's this. And you look at it and it's like, oh, no, actually that. It's like, huh, you know more than a computer programmer? Don't you know that programmers know literally every single thing in every single language and every single thing about programming ever? What do you think it means to be a lawyer? Do you think you become a lawyer when you memorize every law? That's what a lawyer is somebody who's memorized every single state law?
Those on the left are fond of calling a coup or an insurrection or even an attempt to overturn the election. This will be the subject of our discussion. John has been cast out into the wilderness even by most everyone on the right, but for some reason he remains cheerful. Welcome, John.
Thanks, Tom.
John was a professor at law at Chapman University in Southern California and served 3 years as the dean of the law school. He is a highly credentialed, wide...
Legal equals right principle is a person who is the actor or perpetrator of the crime. Is the other qualification for second-degree murder. Wait. Murder of the second degree is a criminal homicide. Constitutes murder of the second degree when it is committed while defendant was engaged as a principal or an accomplice in the perpetration of a felony. No, you're not right. Don't. No, stop. No. So no comment on the Twitch unban. What comment can I possibly comment? Trump got unbanned from Twitch. What comment can I possibly have about this?
Served 3 years as the dean of the law school. He is a highly credentialed, widely published lawyer who, among many other accomplishments, clerked for Justice Clarence Thomas and is past chairman of the Federalist Society, Federalism and Separation of Powers. So let's set the stage. The presidential electors, which had been appointed by popular vote.
I love to hear Ryan Macbeth's take on all the recent Russia Twitter fuckery. He's well positioned to investigate. Love you, buddy. Maybe, yeah.
Sent their vote tallies to Congress, where they were to be open on January 6. Now, you assisted Trump, who was your client, in trying to persuade Vice President Pence to postpone the counting for 7 to 10 days. To be clear, you weren't asking Pence to reject any electoral votes, as I believe Pence has stated. Rather, you were asking Pence to postpone the counting for 7 to 10 days, which might have given several key states time to determine who had actually won the election. But even delaying the vote was, as you readily acknowledge, a very aggressive position to take. But you thought it was defensible or plausible, and in the circumstances worth pursuing. Circumstances we shall discuss. So, the central wrong, as you see it, is that the election was stolen. You thought Trump had actually won the election, right?
Normal things of fraud, but more importantly, and the things I focused on, were the alterations of state election.
Do people normally wear red ties like this? Or is he like trying to be like Trump or whatever?
Law by non-legislative actors, secretaries of state, county clerks, even in some cases state judges. And they have no authority to do that under the federal constitution, which assigns the exclusive power.
I thought that solid red ties are like considered not, you generally don't.
In some cases.
Okay, never mind. I don't know why I'm actually asking Chad this. Never mind.
The state election law by non-legislative actors, secretaries of state, county clerks, even in some cases state judges. And they have no authority to do that under the federal constitution.
Please don't permaban, but isn't it reasonable to assume that an attorney would have done the legal research into the specific laws if he was going to cite them in his video? When you're working on any given thing, there's a focus on the thing that you're working on. Okay? Usually, the focus is going to be on the thing that you're focused on. That's what's going to have most of the effort, most of the research. That's what your knowledge is for. Okay? Sometimes, when you're doing research for a particular thing, you might comment on things that are in the periphery. And especially if you're a subject matter expert, you have the ability to do that. You might get something wrong there. You shouldn't, ideally. You do good research. You might get something wrong there, though. But if it's not like the central claim or thesis of what it is you're talking about, then I don't think it undermines like the entire article. Like, it's I'm sorry. Let me explain, okay? Let's say that I was an expert on cell phone manufacturing, and I wanted to write a whole article about how the, whatever the fuck the new A11, A69 fucking chip in the iPhone, why it's better than the Snapdragon 69 or whatever the fuck is in the Samsung and Google Pixel phones, okay? If I'm writing an article on this, and I have a lot of subject matter expertise, right? And I'm writing why I'm thinking these two things are comparable, okay? That this is better than that. okay? Especially since I'm a subject matter expert, hopefully I'm not fucking up anything when I'm making these important comparisons, okay? If you were to cite my article, however, it would be very cringe to cite a sentence that isn't the focal point of the article and then citing to that, like in the Supreme Court cases, like that's like a holding opinion. That would be cringe, right? Even Supreme Court justices shouldn't do that for other opinions, okay? For instance, right? I'm going to New York Times 9/11 article, all right? Let's say that there's a whole article on, okay. This was published on September 8th, 2011, okay? I'm not going to read the whole article, but let me skim it. On that day, that requires no year. The sun set on crushed buildings in a reimagined world. It set on a recontoured skyline in a haunted city. The equations of life no longer work, blah, 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 okay. So we're reading this, okay? Apparently this is about like the change in attitudes and how the world changed and how all of our expectations and everything changed, I guess, as we go through time, okay? It's showing impacts on different parts of society. This poor person, I guess, has a birthday on 9/11. Sucks to be them. Civic life, I guess, got bad and crossing the line, something. I don't know what the fuck this is about. Okay. Now, roughly speaking, okay, this is like the, roughly speaking, all right, how 9/11 affected us and affected the country is like the focal point of this article, okay? Broadly, conceptually speaking, all right? It would be appropriate for me to cite this article if I was writing another article or story about how there are a lot of opinions about how the country changed after 9/11, and then I could cite to this article showing that. It would be inappropriate for me if I was writing, let's say that I was writing a piece, and I was writing a piece about how George W. Bush felt justified in going to war in Iraq because he saw 9/11 as Saddam Hussein aggressing against the United States. And then I were to cite the New York Times article, and I were to cite the sentence that says, George W. Bush understood 9/11 as a declaration of war. That wouldn't be appropriate because this sentence here doesn't really build towards or is incorporated as part of like the important like substance or concept that this article is about. It wouldn't be appropriate. Does that make sense? I was going to scream at you in chat, but then I see this happen a lot on Wikipedia, where people will cite to a particular thing in another source, but that's not really what that source is about. And it's a really inappropriate way to do citations. When you're citing to some material, the thing that you cite to should be the important conceptual meat of whatever it is you're citing to. A citation to a material, even if the fact is in there, is wildly inappropriate if that's not the meat of what that material is getting at, in my opinion. There's a name on Wikipedia for this, but I don't know what they call it. You're not supposed to cite sources this way, but all of this to say that if Legal Eagle, I don't know what that video is about because I haven't watched it. I just watched like the first minute of it. I don't even know how the fuck it was linked. Fuck me, where is this?
Yeah, it's illegal to try to candidate for president. Immediate family of such. They're shooting a security failure, and that seems like into troopers from the Pennsylvania not securing the rooftop that Crooks used to get for the shooting. It was not immediately clear whether that officer was the one seen examining the building, and the newly surfaced video of the sheriff can be controlled. You may remember the day of the shooting, the school called the rule that the Crumblies could be tried, and the gun that hour is missing. You can search incognito.
Okay, so it sounds like he's running through a whole bunch of potential liabilities that people could face in the course of having committed some crimes or whatever. I would say here actually that like if you're going to be citing to all of these individual little laws and you're going to say that like, oh well, you know, somebody could be liable. Yeah, he probably should have done better research here. He shouldn't have messed this thing up.
On 2 improvised explosive devices in his car, and that not He wore hunting gear and camouflage to school. They're nearing science 2020 election. Republicans and Democrats for the case from local police. A spokesman, Crooks associate, had survived 3 up in charge of the field. He ended up killing a bystander.
However, I will say, though, that when he gets this particular thing wrong, I don't think that he's getting it wrong in bad faith, because he's literally showing the criminal statute that kind of goes against what he's saying here. So I don't think he's making shit. I think that it was probably just sloppy research for a quick video that they wanted to get out, or they didn't read the entire felony murder statute. Okay. This issue happens in court every day. Attorneys said a case that has similar fact patterns, but does not deal with the issue at hand. Yeah, I've had friends who they have to go through when people are filing motions and shit. They've got to look up all the underlying case law and make sure that it's not being blah, 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 cited incorrectly. And they have to find their own cases and all that. Yeah, fuck all that shit.
Which assigns the exclusive power to the state legislature to direct the manner of choosing presidential electors. So, and the things I focused on were the alterations of state election law by non.
Does that apply to primary sources? Sometimes useful information, especially for historians, seems to come from things mentioned in passing from unrelated writings. Why is it wrong if the underlying thing being cited in both articles is subjectively stated? I just want to say, to be better, just know. You should just know. You should just intuitively understand this concept. There are different types of things that might be stated in a particular article, okay? One thing might just be like a fact, I guess, and another thing might be like an argument or an opinion. I don't know. If you're like a journalist or if you're like a historian, you probably have better words for this than I do. I'm making this up on the fly, but I know there are different types of things. There are different types of things that you can cite. So hold on. Hold on. These are all just personal stories. Even the ground rule I was going to give you just doesn't work. I don't know how to I don't know how to get you into my brain. I don't know what to say. If you were arguing about how many people were working every day there, you wouldn't cite this article, even though it has 3,000 workers a day listed here for, I guess, people doing cleanup. You wouldn't cite this article for it. It wouldn't be appropriate because this article is not. How can I don't know how to make this make sense. I feel like when you're writing an article, there should I don't even know. I don't know. I actually don't know how to explain this. I feel like you should just understand this. This is your fault, not my fault. When you're writing an article, there's going to be a focus that the article is going to be on, okay? Stuff that's within the focus or the research point of the article should have a very, very, very high degree of accuracy, okay? Let's say that I was going to write an article about Hitler's motivations for World War II, okay? Conceptually, that's the focus of my article, is Hitler's motivations for World War II. If you want to cite to my article about what did some people think were motivations for World War II leaders, what did some people think were defining moments in history, about how leaders are motivated or driven to do certain things, if you wanted to talk about World War II specifically, the Holocaust, these would be appropriate things to is Stephen aware of that Libs or TikTok tweet about him? No, Josiah, tweet away or link me on Discord. These would be appropriate things to cite to. But let's say in the article somewhere, I also write as I'm saying that it was a snowy day. Oh, I don't care. This is like 6 years old. But like, let's say on this article, let's say that I write something like, it was a snowy day when Hitler finally decided to take his own life. This was the culmination of his failures as a leader, his aspirations as an ideologue, and his and the ruin that had been wrought to his country because of his irresponsible behavior. Blah 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 blah. Right? Let's say it was some shit like that. Okay. Let's say that I wrote that sentence, or I had written that sentence. Okay. If somebody was studying like climatology or weather or something, and the impacts that weather had in World War II, citing to my article about whether it was actually snowing on the day that he killed himself probably isn't appropriate. You don't know like the level of detail or the analysis, how factual the author was when writing that particular line, because it's not really central to what the article's addressing. You wouldn't cite to that article and go, oh, no, look, it says it was snowing here, right? Because that's not the meat of what this, it's conceptually not the centerpiece, the focal point of what that article is addressing. So you don't know for comments made on the peripheral if the same level of scrutiny, research, and all that has gone into every single one of those points. Okay. I don't know how else to explain that. Ask your college professor, okay? Explain it like you're explaining dicta. I mean, if you don't understand what I'm saying about this, you're not going to understand in dicta. but I reference that, like the difference between like the holding opinion and just like in dicta writing and whatever the fuck else. Yeah. I can't tell if this was a troll comment or not. Hold on. If you cite an offhand incorrect thing someone else wrote, is that the fault of the person citing or the person who wrote it in the first place? It's the fault of the person citing. One thing that has been shocking to me, I've noticed this in the International Court of Justice, and I've noticed this in Finkelstein's writings and in other things that we've read, that people sometimes have a very, very, very poor understanding of a good citation. A really good example of this is, what was it? UN report, Great March of Return, full PDF. Hold on. Fuck, was it not here? Oh wait, this isn't even the full thing. Was it this one? I don't know about journalism/law, but in academia, incorrect citations are the fault of the person citing. You aren't supposed to blindly follow the article you're citing, but delve into it in order to draw connections to whatever you're writing that you personally can stand behind. Yes, ideally, yes. At Destiny, while I was pedantic, I called out legal eagle is because every lawyer knows that killing can't be the underlying felony for felony murder. It's tested on the bar and is law in all states. Is that part of, aren't there two different types of like law for the bar? Are there two different types of bar? Is there a shorthand or a nickname for a bar where like you take the same one in all states versus like a state specific? Am I making this up? Do you know what I'm referring to? If that's true, then that would be a more egregious error on his part. Wait, it's not and he's wrong. Can murder, oh my God, ever be the underlying felony for felony murder? Okay, 18 USC. Let's look this up. Wow, we're just wasting all of our fucking time today. Yes. Yes! You know, wait. Nope, not this. Don't give a fuck. This. Nope. Chapter 51. Murder. There's no... Federal felony murder charge. Is there even a charge for... Actually, wait. Could murder ever be the underlying felony for felony murder? Wouldn't that mean that you could charge felony murder in literally every single place you can have murder? Wouldn't you always charge it? If I was a 5-hour, heavily moderated debate on U.S. election with you, who would you want your opponent to be? Alex Jones, Tim Pool, Lauren Southern, etc. Can you talk through the options? Lauren and I are, I think, too friendly for people to take it seriously. Alex Jones is a joke. Tim Pool is too much of a coward to actually agree to that. But when you ask me about the Alex Jones thing, in my mind, I'm just using it as an opportunity to talk to the people that would show up to debate, because Alex Jones is a deeply unserious individual who has nothing of value to contribute to political discourse. In terms of people that I'd be interested in debating on it, literally any large conservative, anybody from the Daily Wire, anybody, any somewhat serious conservative, I would, Stephen Crowder, any centrist who's a secret conservative but won't admit it. So Tim Pool, the trigonometry guys, like any of these people, I would debate any of these people, yeah. Dave Rubin, absolutely. But most of the centrists and the serious right-leaning people, I don't think would agree to that conversation. You'd have to shoot down a couple leagues, because Dave Smith, he wouldn't agree to it. He's already verbally called out that he's dodging me on everything, which I don't blame him. Yes, murder can be the underlying felony for felony murder under federal law. I don't know if that's true. This is why I don't trust this AI bullshit. I wonder if any of these things even say that. Inherently dangerous crimes may vary by state, but typically include burglary, robbery, rape, arson, and kidnapping. However, under the merger doctrine, if the elements of the underlying felony are a part of the elements of murder, the felony murder rule cannot be applied. For example, a defendant who participated in an assault in which someone was killed could not be charged with felony murder because the elements of assault are also incorporated in the elements of a murder. Thus, the assault merges into the murder and is not a distinct crime that can constitute the underlying felony. So this seems like I'm getting an AI recommendation for what this answer is, and then I've clicked through to the article, and the highlighted part of the article seems like it literally directly contradicts what the AI is telling me. This is why I don't trust any of this fucking AI cuck bullshit. Ask me in 5 years. This is why I ban you when you recommend ChatGPT for this shit. Unless I'm misunderstanding. Okay, I don't care. Stop. We got way too off. I don't even know why I'm doing this. We were going over bad citations. Fuck me. fuck, there's such a good example in here, and I'm not going to be able to fucking find it. Oh, I'm not going to be able to fucking find it. I am not going to be able to fucking find it. It was such a good example. I bet there's more examples in here, but I don't want to read through every fucking citation. There was like, in this, I think it's in this UN report over the border rights stuff, there's like a question of whether or not the territories are occupied. Like it asks that question. And in order to solve that question, it cites to other UN rulings, but the UN, or it cites to some General Assembly resolutions, but the General Assembly resolutions don't have anything to do with determining whether or not the territory is currently being occupied for the purposes that are being discussed here. It's just resolutions that refer to them as the occupied territories. That's it. It's like, it's one of the most egregiously horrible citations I've ever seen in my life. And there's more in here. A lot of the UN shit is really, really, really hit or miss. I wish I could remember which resolutions. It's not 242. It's later resolutions, I think. Oh, I'm not going to be able to... I don't remember. Oh my God, did I find it? Oh my God. Okay, sorry. I'm going to read this. I'm so sorry. Okay, Jesus. During the 1967 war, Israel seized control of the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, from Jordan, and it seized the Gaza Strip from Egypt. Real quick as a background, so what they're trying to figure out here in this, to figure out what the appropriate legal standard is, analysis that they should use for these border riots, part of the analysis has to determine whether or not Israel is an occupying force in the place where this is being analyzed. Because if they're an occupying force, then arguably you analyze this as a policing event rather than an armed conflict event, right? So that's what this analysis is trying to do. The analysis is trying to establish that Israel is an occupying power in the Gaza Strip. And the way that they do this is wild. Sorry, okay. I'm just going to read from this chapter, okay? Territory is considered occupied when it is actually placed under the authority of the hostile army. The occupation extends only to the territory where such authority has been established and can be exercised. The provision of the Hague Regulations of 1907 is recognized as customary international humanitarian law, including by Israel. The legal standard by which to measure whether belligerent occupation has been established is the effective control test. The test may be summarized as follows, okay? One party's armed forces are physically present in the territory of another party without the consent of the local sovereign authority, i.e. the boots on the ground element. Now it's interesting because I believe Israel fails all three elements here to consider them an occupying force in Gaza, which is interesting. But the presence of the foreign armed forces displaces the local sovereign authority, and the foreign forces have established or can readily establish their own authority, superseding that of the pre-existing local authority, right? So for the first one, IDF soldiers are not present permanently in Gaza. Well, they kind of are now, but before October 7th, they weren't. Hamas was the sovereign authority that did policing and everything. It wasn't IDF troops inside the Gaza Strip. And obviously the Israeli forces can't be established quickly. They had to do a whole fucking war, right? So it fails on all 3 points, right? But somehow they managed to fight all three of these points and say, well, no, we still consider Israel an occupying power. Okay, well, how? Let's see. During the 1967 war, Israel seized control of the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, from Jordan, and it seized the Gaza Strip from Egypt. From then until 2005, Israel exerted its authority also through the physical presence of its troops. Viewed against the effective control test, the territory and resident population of the OPT, including the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip, were subject to belligerent occupation. With regard to Gaza, a judgment in the Israeli Supreme Court in 2004 also referred to Israel's status as occupying power there. Okay, so this all makes sense up till 2005 is when Israel pulls out of the Gaza Strip. But, oh, here we go. In 2005, Israel evacuated its troops and all the settlements from the Gaza Strip. It then took the position that this disengagement had ended its occupation of Gaza. The evacuation did raise the question of whether the withdrawal of Israel's boots on the ground altered in a legally significant way, that's a key, legally significant way, or even ended the occupation. The law of armed conflict is silent with respect to final or factual thresholds on when an occupation is ended. The ICRC has articulated the generally accepted view that the criteria to be met should generally mirror the ones used to determine the occupation's beginning. That noted, the ICRC acknowledged that departing foreign forces might retain key elements of authority, which in some cases amount to effective control for the purposes of the law of occupation and entail the continued application of that body of law's relevant positions or provisions. Okay, so maybe they're going to make those arguments. On this question, notably, in 2009 and again in 2016, the United Nations Security Council reaffirmed the position that Israel retains the status of occupying power in the OPT despite its 2005 disengagement. The Security Council's 2009 resolution mentions Gaza specifically. Okay, if you're citing here to this resolution, what I'm expecting is I'm going to read a resolution that is explicitly and in detail dealing with whether or not this is still an occupation, right? So we would look at footnote 66, and we see Security Council Resolution 2334. This resolution, I'm guessing, it must be about the legal status of whether or not Israel is still an occupying power on the Gaza Strip. I guess that's what it's about. I don't know what kind of resolution you have with it, but okay, let's click and read. Resolution 2334. Reaffirming its relevant resolutions, including resolutions 242, blah, 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 guided by the purposes and principles of the Charter of the UN, reaffirming the obligation of Israel, the occupying power, to abide scrupulously by its legal obligations and responsibilities under the Fourth Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilian persons in time of war of the 12th of August, 1949, and recalling the advisory opinion rendered 2004, condemning all measures aimed at altering the demographic composition, character, and status of the Palestinian territory occupied since 1967, including East Jerusalem, including Inner Leah, the construction and expansion of settlements, transfer, blah, 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 expressing grave concern that continuing Israeli settlement activities are dangerously imperiling the viability of the two-state solution, recalling the obligation under the Quartet Roadmap endorsed by, and then recalling under the obligation of this, condemning all acts of violence, reiterating its vision of a region where two democratic states, stressing that the status quo is not sustainable and that significant steps consistent with the transition contemplated by prior agreements are urgently needed, reaffirms the establishment of Israel, by Israel, of settlements in the Palestinian territory occupied since 1967, including East Jerusalem, reiterates its demand that Israel immediately and completely cease all settlement activities, underlines it will not recognize any changes to the June 4th, 1967 lines, stresses the cessation of Israeli illegal settlements, calls upon all states, bearing in mind paragraph 1 of this resolution, calls for immediate steps to prevent all blah, 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 calls upon both parties to act on the basis of international law, including blah, 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 calls upon all parties to continue in the interest of the promotion of peace and security, urges all in regard. So when you look at this resolution, it might not even say Gaza. This resolution has nothing to do with the legal analysis of whether or not the 2005 disengagement made it so that Israel was no longer an occupying of Gaza. The citation here that's given it to further this argument is completely inappropriate. This citation, just because it says reaffirming the obligation of Israel, the occupying power, to abide scrupulously by its legal definition, this is not making a strong legal argument for whether or not disengagement meant that they were no longer an occupying power in Gaza. Like, yeah, okay. We just went on like a 45-minute fucking side tangent. The UN General Assembly has also held the view that Israel remains an occupying power in the Gaza Strip. What do they cite for 67? Okay. The only thing that these opinions... Oh, wait, hold on. I haven't seen this one. It seems like the only thing these opinions are doing are just citing to the fact that they call them the occupied territories. That's it. like expresses grave concern about the critical situation of the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, particularly the Gaza Strip, as a result of unlawful Israeli practices and measures, and especially condemns and calls for the immediate cessation of all illegal Israeli settlement activities and construction of the wall and the lifting of the blockade in the Gaza Strip. These are not legal analyses of whether or not there's an occupation, okay? Can I move on this? Okay, Jesus. I'm just saying that even though they say the occupied territories, you would never cite to this as a strong legal argument for why you would never cite these. They're referred to as the occupied territories, but you wouldn't cite to this as a strong argument for why legally you ought to consider them still occupied. That's just what they're referred to as. Okay. Oh, okay. Jesus. What is this one? The ICRC in 2012 assessed that Israel occupies Gaza. Footnote 69. Why you got me reading this bullshit again? Turning specifically to the situation in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territory, the particular challenges facing humanitarian action there cannot be tackled without an honest look at certain Israeli policies that have become key features of the occupation. Israel has exercised actual authority over the West Bank and the Gaza Strip for almost half a century, making its presence in these areas one of the longest sustained military occupations in modern history. While the shape and degree of that military occupation have varied, Israel has continuously maintained effective control over the territories it occupied as a result of the Six-Day War in 1967 and control over the Palestinian population living there. This is not an argument either. It doesn't even recognize disengagement in 2005, right? All this to say that, I'm sorry, I've gone through like some academic work that does this. I've gone through some like International Court of Justice stuff that does it. I've gone through some Roberts opinions that do this. These citations are not good. This is bad. These are dog shit citations. You should just not cite anything. You should just say it's my opinion. You're not citing anything correctly here. If I was a professor, I would flunk you. I don't know how colleges do it. I don't know if colleges let you do this. If they do let you do it, they shouldn't. You should get flunked for it, or the professor should count it as it doesn't count. This isn't a real citation. You can't do this. I don't understand. I don't know why that happens here, or if it's just hacks writing it, or what. I don't know. Wow, holy AI, thanks for the CZK 200, whatever the fuck that means. I love you, buddy. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Where'd you get your law degree from? Wikipedia. I've just lied in several of my citations. Often I would include a dead link if I really couldn't find anything to support my statements. My professors never checked in 5 years of school. Bayzed. Absolutely Bayzed. Just fucking lie. What is this? 10 simple rules for responsible referencing. Cite in accordance with content. If at some phase in the research you've decided that a specific study merits citation, the issue of specifically how and where to cite it deserves explicit consideration. Mere inclusion does not suffice. Suffice. I always fuck this word up. I think I got it right there. Sources deserve credit for the exact contribution they offer, not their contribution in general. True. Oh, exact contribution. Okay. This may mean that you need to cite a single source multiple times throughout your own argument, including explanations or indications why. Oh, maybe it's not. Hold on. A specific way to break Rule 3 is in the form of the so-called Trojan citation. Oh, that's such a good term. The Trojan citation arises when a publication reporting similar findings to your own is cited in the context of a discussion of a minor issue, ignoring, sometimes deliberately, its key argument or contribution. By focusing on the trivial detail, the Trojan citation obscures the true significance of the cited work. As a consequence, it hides that your work is not as novel as it seems. As a questionable citation practice, a Trojan citation can be used to satisfy reviewers' or editors' requests to include a reference to a relevant paper. Alternatively, a Trojan citation may emerge unknowingly when, one, you are unaware of the content of a cited publication, not adhering to Rule 2 creates a very significant risk of being unable to follow Rule 3, or two, disputes exist in the scientific community or among the authors on the contribution and or quality of a scientific publication, in which case Rule 4 will help. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is kind of it. Rule 2, read the publication you cite. Citation is not an administrative task. First, a single paper can be cited for multiple reasons, ranging from reported data to methods, and can be cited both positively and negatively in the literature. The only way to identify whether its content is relevant as support for your claim is to read it in full. There was one joke meme that somebody posted, and I agreed. I fucking agreed. What was it? It was in my subreddit, and somebody posted, like, the way that this guy does his footnotes is he would just cite an entire fucking book. And I think at the end of the, in his bibliography or something, at the end of the book, he wrote down, and he was like, what was it? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? He's like, pages aren't meant to be read. Books are meant to be read. Therefore, I never cite to a single page, and I always cite to the entire work. Now, for practical reasons, you should obviously cite to the actual material as well. Watching Destiny ask, why are conservatives silent on Russia must be the most laughably ignorant statement in human history. What part of that is laughably ignorant? Second, the collection of citations included to support your work and argument is one of the elements from which your work draws credibility. The same goes for the citations you include to criticize, dispute, or disprove. As a consequence, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. The quality of the publication you trust and upon which you confer authority co-determines the quality and credibility of your work. Citation rates, especially on the journal level, do not correspond well to research quality. True! Wait, when they say citation rate, does that mean how many citations you make? And they conflate positive and negative citations, not distinguishing authority conferred or authority that is challenged. Oh, like when I say for Wikipedia things, people don't appropriately like weight stuff. But this is also saying like you're citing a thing to agree with it or disagree with it, sure. To cite meaningfully and credibly requires that you consult the content of a publication rather than whether others have cited it as a criterion for citation. True. Absolutely true. Is it just how often the thing is cited? Oh, true. Okay, that makes more sense, yeah. Because if somebody cites a paper 100 times, you might think, oh my God, this is such a good paper. But maybe 100 people have cited it as like an incorrect way to do a particular thing, right? Okay. Nice. Thank you for wasting all of our time.
Legislative actors, secretaries of state, county clerks, even in some cases, state judges. And they have no authority to do that under the federal constitution, which assigns the exclusive power to the state legislature to direct the manner of choosing presidential electors. So Pennsylvania law expanded its mail-in voting. That expansion was subsequently held to be illegal under the Pennsylvania Constitution, but they expanded it even before the COVID pandemic hit. But they retained signature verification so that the expanded mail-in voting would still be subject to a check to prevent fraud. The Secretary of State, in response to what I call a collusive suit by the League of Women Voters, just eliminated on her own the signature verification process altogether. I think that was an
collusive suit, like collusion, like she told. Like the governor or whatever told them to file the suit? Does he have evidence for that? Or
alteration of the state law that the state legislature had put in place, and therefore an unconstitutional action in the conduct of the election.
Now, were there others? Let's keep to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, there were others in Pennsylvania. They altered the deadline for return of absentee ballots. They allowed ballots that were maybe even mailed after Election Day if the postmark was illegible or non-existent, as long as it was received by the Friday after Election Day. Those
Pisco's saying he lied about the Pennsylvania thing. If you want, you can shoot me a court case or whatever, and we can read it real quick.
Post-election ballots to be counted. They altered, in my view.
Oh, wait, hold on. The U.S. Supreme Court reverses the Pennsylvania mail voting law decision. Oof. You are wrong. Look up collusive suit. A lawsuit where the parties are not actually in disagreement but are cooperating to steer the court towards some agreed upon conclusion. Okay. Turn off link ban? How do you not know how to get around the link ban? Just link it in chat and don't tag me. Christ. This is in the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, Middle District. Supreme Court of Pennsylvania means that this is the highest court in Pennsylvania? Or for when it says Middle District, are there multiple highest court in Pennsylvania? Why does it say Middle District? The fuck does that mean? Middle? I'm so confused. In the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, Middle District. Well, I don't understand what the Middle District means here. The United States District Court, no. It's the green, okay. Pennsylvania Court, Middle District. The United States, okay, wait. If it says District Court, this is a federal court, right? It's not the same thing, right? I don't understand what the fuck. Oh, Middle District of Pennsylvania. The Middle District of Pennsylvania extends over blah, 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 from the blah, blah, blah. District, okay. Okay, I'm guessing it got appealed from the Middle District, and then the Supreme Court is the highest. So these are all state courts. Everything. I'm guessing what this is what this means. I have no fucking idea. That's my guess. Okay. Wait, this is the dumb fuck nomenclature that Pennsylvania uses. It's not the Supreme Court, just an appellate level. Oh, so this is not their highest court. Wait, really? No. Bro, every state has like different nomenclature for their courts. It's actually actual fucking AIDS cancer. Okay. Okay. Peaceful, you weren't typing anything. Is this the same case that the Supreme Court ruled on? Because if so, wouldn't I just want the Supreme Court's ruling on this? No, wait, hold on. What I just said doesn't even make any sense. Or no, wait, it does make sense. Wait, what is the course? Can the Supreme Court review a decision From a state Supreme Court? Or does it have to go through federal courts? Sometimes. Okay, Pennsylvania's top-ranking election officials said the decision was under review and the guidance to counties about how to handle such ballots. Okay, U.S. Supreme Court reverses. Okay, the U.S. Supreme Court invalidated a lower appeals court decision. This was a federal court. Is this even the same case, or is this a different case that it's referring to? Holy fucking AIDS. This is the Act 77 case. Okay, commonly referred to as Act 77. Okay, this is the Supreme Court case is for a different case then, I'm guessing. Okay. Do they do a syllabus for Stephen, the history of the Commonwealth and development of its Constitution more than 100 years ago? No one cares. Pennsylvania, who cares? Okay. So they reversed that decision. And why does he say that it was unconstitutional? Hold on.
And therefore an unconstitutional pandemic hit. But they retained signature verification so that the expanded mail-in voting would still be subject to a check to prevent fraud. The Secretary of State, in response to what I call a collusive suit by the League of Women Voters, just eliminated on her own the signature verification process altogether.
In a collusive suit all on her own, they eliminated that altogether. But ultimately, they couldn't have eliminated it on their own if it was a suit. There must have been a judge that signed off on this, right? Go back a minute.
Okay. A very aggressive position to take. But you thought it was defensible or plausible, and in the circumstances worth pursuing. Circumstances we shall discuss. So, the central wrong, as you see it, is that the election was stolen. You thought Trump had actually won the election, right?
Normal things of fraud, but more importantly, and the things I focused on, were the alterations of state election law by non-legislative actors, secretaries of state, county clerks, even in some cases, state judges. And they have no authority.
Stolen.
I'm sorry.
You thought Trump had actually won the election, right?
Normal things of fraud, but more importantly, and the things I focused on, were the alterations of state election law by non-legislative actors, secretaries of state, county clerks, even in some cases, state judges. And they have no authority to do that under the federal Constitution, which assigns the exclusive power to the state legislature to direct the manner of choosing presidential electors.
Wait, what? Hold on, I'm so sorry. 1 second.
You thought Trump had actually won the election, right?
Normal things of fraud, but more importantly, and the things I focused on, were the alterations of state election law.
Alterations of state election law.
By non-legislative actors, secretaries.
By non-legislative actors.
Of state, county clerks, even in some cases, state judges. And they have no authority to do that under the federal Constitution, which assigns the exclusive power to the state legislature to direct the manner of choosing presidential electors.
What is this argument? He's saying that, why are we watching this? I hate these people. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought he was making a coherent legal argument. He's making the argument that the Constitution says that only the state legislature can make rules relating to, in this case, mail-in ballots, and that it doesn't matter what the fuck the state courts say, or it doesn't matter what the fuck anybody else says, that for the state to do something else, it's violating the U.S. Constitution. Independent state legislature theory. Oh, I've heard of this, but I didn't read any of this in detail. This is about the Moore case. This is 65 pages long. Why did these people agree to do these interviews? Well, I mean, they have their novel legal theories, but I mean, I don't think anybody pays that much of attention to it, right? Like, this guy has 17,000 views on this. It's just legal stuff. Nobody cares. But the Secretary of State is part of the legislature. Are they? Generally, secretaries and all of that are like, aren't they officers that are part of offices that would be part of like the governor's office, part of the execution branch, right? Executive branch.
So Pennsylvania law expanded its mail-in voting. That expansion was subsequently held to be illegal under the Pennsylvania Constitution, but they expanded it even before the COVID pandemic hit. But they retained.
So what? So he just thinks that like the Constitution. He just thinks that all of this was illegal and that Pennsylvania is wrong, and that the did the U.S. Supreme Court review this decision? U.S. Supreme Court, Act 77, Pennsylvania. Did it even get appealed up to the Supreme Court? This is a different case. This is not the same, right? Oh, fuck, dude. I hate jumping into these without, like, just reading. Pennsylvania has their own Supreme Court, no? Every state has their highest court, but state Supreme Courts, the highest courts in a state only has the authority to hear matters, state matters, right? They can't, if the federal government can intervene somehow, then the U.S. Supreme Court would be the one to hear that. Or if a state Supreme Court makes a ruling that's violative of like the United States Constitution, then the U.S. Supreme Court could hear that and overturn it. Join my room. Peace go.
Holy garbanzo.
Hi, what's up, buddy?
How you doing? There?
Yep, I can hear you.
I just want to learn you a little bit. So what he's talking about are kind of separate theories of unconstitutionality. One are like a broader concern that state legislatures themselves did not pass changes to election systems and sort of offshooted it to state executive officials or judicial decisions, and that was unconstitutional. That's the Moore v. Harper decision. That's the independent state legislature theory. The response to that is like, well, hang on, if a state legislature gives the right for a state executive official to make certain changes, it kind of reminds you of Chevron, right? Where if a state decides by
well, it's not even Chevron. It's just like the legislature, at least in the federal government, the legislature can empower
right.
Like yeah, that's just a thing. I don't know if states
it
can do that.
reminds you of like that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there were some arguments that no. When they say state legislature, they mean like not even, you can't even have a constitutional amendment change how the voting system happens for president in
where and then
in states.
Where in the Constitution are we like finding support for this argument?
In Article 2, it's called the Presidential Electors Clause. It's different than the Elections Clause for Congress. The Presidential Electors Clause says and
it's this one, Clause 2. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors.
Yeah, so their argument is when it says legislature, it's specific. It's not calling out the state general apparatus. They're saying only the legislature and only legislature. And so what they're saying essentially is the states can pass elections laws that violate their own state constitutions, and they cannot delegate that to any state executive official. So this would be a rule that would be like, not even state constitutions can limit how the state legislature and only the state legislature acts, not any other organization. Like you couldn't go to court and try to claim that something in the state constitution prevents a particular assignment of electors. So that's the independent state legislature theory. That was kind of a broad.
Wait, so what is the wait? So just run conceptually then. So what is the independent state legislature theory? What is the idea that?
So the independence of that term is saying only one body is called out in the Constitution that is allowed to assign electors, and that one body is not the states as such, the states generally. It's the state legislatures. So only the legislative bodies of the states, however they are the exclusive means by which electors are assigned for president.
And then are we ignoring that manner could easily apply to like the manner that the legislature directs, calls out like some kind of like state secretary or executive thing? Do we just ignore that, or?
Yeah, what they're saying is that they're not allowed to under their own. You can't give that away. So you couldn't give it away to an executive agent, and that's the theory. It's not been accepted by the Supreme Court. It lost 6-3. I think that's ridiculous that it wasn't a 9-0 decision, but that's where our court is at.
Wait,
but,
hold on, wait.
Yeah.
You said it lost 6-3. Hold on. The three that voted against it, one, definitely Thomas, yeah? Right? Do you know the three?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, Thomas is one for sure. Hold on, okay. Second, I just hate him because of all the majority opinions I read. You say he's the center of the court. Fuck you. Roberts, was he one of the ones that voted against it?
No, Roberts is the majority opinion.
Then what? Then what was it? Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, or who?
It's Gorsuch and Alito.
Oh, Alito. I always forget that fucker. Gorsuch and Alito. Okay.
Yeah.
What was what was Gorsuch's argument?
Or
did he write?
Dissent. I think it was just Thomas's dissent. Yeah.
Wait. And how do you feel about the? I haven't. I just don't have the time. Fuck. Do you think that Thomas should be impeached?
For what?
I think AOC filed for impeachment because of the accepting of gifts or whatever, the yacht stuff and the trips and everything, or apparently he didn't disclose these.
Crime and misdemeanor. It would depend. I don't have the evidence right now to.
Okay.
I don't think that I don't have the evidence right now to say that. Yeah.
What was the name of this case? Moore v. Harper.
Moore v. Harper. So that is a case dealing with everyone's kind of accusations in the middle of the election. That this is all unconstitutional because you had state agencies and state like secretaries of state saying like, opening up new polling locations for COVID, right? Or implementing new rules for COVID, or like declaring new things, right? Mm-hmm. They were saying, well, they can't do that because that wasn't the legislature, and so these new regulations weren't allowed. That was like one flavor of the argument. That's been rejected in Moore v. Harper.
Okay. Were there any other better arguments, or was that like
the other arguments were, okay, maybe independent state legislature theory isn't true, but under their own laws, they violated their own laws, and that's the kind of like the Act 77 case.
Wait, I'm curious. Let's say that a state legislature passes a law. The state legislature says the law says that, on the first day of the month, the governor is going to come out and he's going to say the word 7, and the government decides, or the governor comes out and he says the word 8. Okay, so he's clearly legally violating whatever the legislature passed. Let's say that somebody challenges this and it goes all the way to the highest court in the state, and the highest court in the state says, oh no, we think he's following the rule. Assuming that this is all a state matter, and it's a state ruling, or it's the state's judiciary, doing the legal analysis of a state decision, does the U.S. Supreme Court have any review there, or no?
Almost certainly not. I say almost certainly just because there could be some crazy application of federal law if you're like, I don't know. This has never been the case, Stephen, so I'm just telling you things that have been talked about in oral arguments. If it's such a drastic departure from everything, maybe you're violating the constitutional command to have a Republican form of government or something crazy like that, right? Uh-huh. And there were even hypotheticals like this where, like if a judicial interpretation of a constitutional provision applied to a manner in which the legislature designated their electors, if that judicial decision was so gross, so plainly constitutive of like a corrupt and kind of policy act on behalf of a judge, maybe then the federal courts would have jurisdiction to hear that interpretation. That was accepted, I think, even by the people saying that the independent state legislature theory was incorrect, is like maybe there are some cases in which federal jurisdiction could be held over some state Supreme Court constitutional interpretation of a state law. Mm-hmm. But almost always, and you should just assume always, the state highest court's interpretation of a state law for purposes of the
not like a federal law, or not like an interstate thing. Yeah.
is a final, absolutely final decision that cannot be reviewed.
Sure.
And so the Act 77 case is about, it's actually counter to the independent state legislature theory, right? The independent state legislature theory says, hey, the legislature can pass whatever it wants. It doesn't even have to listen to its own constitution. And Act 77 was, without any.
Wait, is the independent state legislature theory, does it apply to more than just Article 2, Clause 2? Are there other parts of the Constitution that call out like the legislature
No, it's just for that.
This is fucking retarded, right? Or do people take this seriously? Or am I missing something?
People, we had to take it seriously because we were all scared that the court might like adopt it. But there's other case law in the books about like, say for instance, there have been referendum, right? Like constitutional referendum in where people can vote on like an amendment to the Constitution. You're aware of that? Where people have voted on, for example, Nebraska. I don't know if that was through
like to amend a state constitution or the U.S. Constitution.
Be like, all right, we're going to do ranked choice voting in Nebraska now, or we're going to do ranked choice voting in Maine.
Sure.
And they passed it via a general vote for that's how we're going to do it from now on. That would call into question those things because that is in the state legislature, right? That's a vote by the people of the state to change the manner in which the presidential electors are assigned. And so people were very scared that it was going to call into question that, any kind of constitutional change. And because all of these state legislatures are heavily gerrymandered, even more so than the federal counterparts. Think about Wisconsin. Those of you who were following it all, like the Wisconsin split for vote for their state legislatures has always been like very competitive, right? Wisconsin is one of the most competitive states, but like they've had advantages in the legislature by like 60 or to 40%, even though the vote split between Democrat and Republicans like pretty much 50-50 for like the past decade. And so people sort of saw it as a convenient way for pro-Republicans to, have these almost impossible to contest gerrymanders in state legislatures, and you couldn't even change any of their decisions based on like even a constitutional referenda in its own state.
Is there a singular like reference to this concept of the state legislature being like God in like any writing or anything at all? Or
not really. There's it's kind of a textual analysis, which is like, well, if they say legislature, right? They don't say executive. And so we should read into like, and other places in the Constitution, it says states. And so why should we read into that? Like we should read into some decision to give it to the state legislature.
How do you, do they deal with as like a strictly textual interpretation, right? If I were to read this as each state shall appoint as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to, like I would agree. But when you have that in such manner, why can't that in such manner on a purely textual basis, without there being another clause saying the legislature may not, delegate this power or assign this power to some other branch? Why wouldn't that in such manner, just on a textual basis, cover that?
That was one of the arguments that it could be such a manner to do it. The other argument was, well, state legislatures are just a matter of state constitution, right? So how can you say that the state constitution is the body that kind of designs what the state legislature looks like? You could have
you could literally have it where they're like, oh, we actually do believe in the independent state legislature theory, and then a state constitution could just define literally the entire government as like legislature, capital L, and you'd kind of be like,
right. So sure. That was kind of Justice Jackson's argument. Where like, yeah, well, look at all the rules that are set by the state constitution. You have to follow them anyway for like what like passes to become a law, and so all of the things that any state legislature does is always going to be subject to the state constitution. So how can it be that like, regulations or referendums or limitations made in state constitutions that the founders didn't expect those to obviously apply? Mm-hmm. You should read more of versus Harper if you're interested. But what I want to call out is like the hypocrisy here. On the one hand, they're arguing that, hey, the state's legislatures can do whatever they want. And so who are you to question if a state legislature wants to assign everything for Trump, or if if you want to invalidate, or if, a state executive officer wants to make a rule that's going to be invalidated. That's on the one hand their argument, right? And on the other hand, they're saying, no. The state legislature of Pennsylvania can't extend mail-in voting to everybody because that violates the Pennsylvania state constitution. So it's the direct opposite arguments.
And they were also searching for, I think it was related to Pennsylvania. Texas wanted to make a statement about...
right.
Yeah, they also said Texas, like, well, hold on, we actually feel like we're an injured party to how you run your elections too. Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of contradictions there. But the Act 77 case that I gave to you was like the Pennsylvania Supreme Court counter to what this fraud and phony and loser and should be in jail guy John Eastman is saying absolutely found that it was constitutional under the Pennsylvania state constitution for Pennsylvania to expand voting. And so he's just wrong about what Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania had to say on that matter. And that legislation was passed as a bipartisan measure prior to the COVID pandemic happening. And so it wasn't in response to COVID. It was passed with Republicans, signed by a Democratic governor. And so even his story of it is incoherent, because on the one hand, he's saying only the legislature can act, but this legislature did something I didn't like back before COVID. And so it's automatically bad faith, because he cannot be consistent even in his own like frame of the constitutionality of assigning your electors. And so this guy's a loser. And Trump was using his quote unquote advice, which wasn't really legal advice. It was just any kind of way to steal the election. Any other questions?
No, I'll read a couple pages of fucking wacky Thomas. I'll see what he says.
All right, later, man.
Love you, buddy. Fuck, okay, I don't care that much for this. Okay. Tiny needs to watch this. Here you go.
Parada. Mix up time. Doesn't get a clean hit. On that, the shoulder. Well, he can kill. He has rage. The shoulder again. Oh, the razor. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Dude! What are these rage
Not as the
arts?
game director of Tekken. Okay.
Is this what you taught her?
No! Wow, that was a surprisingly good match.
That was actually like Parada. Mix up time. Doesn't get a clean hit. On that, the shoulder. Well, he can kill. He has rage. The shoulder again. Oh, the razor.
Okay, cool. Nice. Any more time we can waste today? Oh, we didn't even... I'll watch like up to 10 minutes of this. I guess we'll see.
Signature verification so that the expanded mail-in voting would still be subject to a check to prevent fraud. The Secretary of State, in response to what I call a collusive suit by the League of Women Voters, just eliminated on her own the signature verification process altogether. I think that was an alteration of the state law that the state legislature had put in place, and therefore an unconstitutional action in the conduct of the election.
Now, were there others that keep...
Wait, so why... Okay, so this is what Peace was talking about. Wait, why is he saying that then the state legislature can't do this? That it's an unconstitutional law? What's his argument that the state legislature...
Suit by the League of Women Voters just eliminated on her own the signature verification process altogether. I think that was an alteration of the state law that the state legislature had put in place, and therefore an...
One last...
Yeah. Wait. What's his argument that the state legislature couldn't change this law or eliminate this thing?
Act 77?
Yeah, or he says it's unconstitutional.
Because there's a provision of the Pennsylvania Constitution that says like these cases there shall be mail-in votings, and so people were like saying, hey, these are the only places that the Constitution says you can have mail-in voting. But the response was, no, this isn't like a ceiling, it's a floor. It's saying at a bare minimum you have to have mail-in voting for this amount of people. Okay. And so that was the kind of argument. But one last thing.
Yeah.
For everyone who's arguing that Biden stepping down would be, quote, anti-democratic, I think you have brainworms. All of this, and I don't know if Stephen, I'm not sure if you agree. You can
hold on. Just as a quick pause. Is this a real argument? Listen, I'm so brain right now. Is this a real argument or are these bots? Are there like any media figures or anybody that said that like if we don't support Biden, it's like anti-democratic? Because I've seen some big Twitter accounts tweeting it, but that seems like the dumbest fucking argument of the world.
There are some real people thinking it and tweeting it because people voted, obviously. They did vote. For president.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But my response to that is, listen, it's Biden's nomination right now. He has earned those delegates, and he has a right, if he wants to step down or to stay on. And no one can like literally force him.
Yeah, or actually, I think you could be even more precise. It's not his nomination right now. He just has the delegates.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, the nomination's not even technically chosen yet. So yeah.
Right. I made a big tweet about this, but all of these nominations are private contests. Prior to like the 60s, there were not even like binding primary votes at all. They were all kind of just display votes to the extent that they were having even primary contests. Even in this country now, like some states don't have primaries, they have caucuses. Some states have open primaries, some don't. Some have like there are primaries in places that don't have any representation for presidential elections, like American Samoa. Anyone who remembers what the hell was this guy's name? Jason Palmer beat Joe Biden. It was the only contest he lost during this cycle. So like this is a pure act of policy by the DNC and by the Democrats. I agree with the policy generally, but you know, there's the real election is in November. That's when the election is. This is a private organization. They've made rules. They should abide by those rules, and those rules contain within them like conditions and provisos, which is like if a candidate steps down, these are the steps that happen afterwards. And so all of these primaries were run with those rules completely intact and with everyone having notice of those rules. And part of those rules include the processes by which a presumptive nominee could step down.
Yeah.
There's
I will
nothing-
say though, I
Yeah.
could understand remember when we talk about sizable chunks of the voter base, we really only need like 3 or 4% to make somebody basically unelectable, right? I could understand like that percentage of people being like, wait a second, I didn't vote for fucking Kamala Harris. I wanted Biden. So even if technically it's within the rules to him for to release his delegates to her or whatever, I could see people feeling burned by that. Even if I would say
I
like,
understand
you
the
shouldn't have
feeling
voted
burned by
Biden.
it, and you can definitely feel burned by it. But it's just a question of like, is it quote anti-democratic? And if by anti-democratic you mean like not going by the results of the primary contest, then I guess by definition it's quote anti-democratic. But that is ignoring the other components of the rules, which were expressly incorporated in all these contests, and it's part of the process. And the notion that it would require Biden's consent.
Well, hold on, wait. Just as a real quick thing, when we talk about rules, none of that actually matters. Like we all agree, every single person can agree that he can release his delegates to whoever he wants, and he can do that. But the question is, will you vote for him in the general? That's the important part, right? And regardless of whether it's in the rules or not, right? Like we could all agree that it was technically within the rules that if Hillary Clinton wanted to, after Sanders stepped down, she could have gone to the convention and just like given all of her delegates to her fucking daughter or something. I don't know. And then people in the general will be like, okay, well, fine, you can do that, but we're not voting. Fuck you, right? People will feel burned by that.
No, but what I mean is like I think that decision, if Hillary Clinton did that, I don't think that would be acceptable by the rules. If you try to do that,
you can't just release your delegates into the wild and let them run free.
To a specific person and be like, I am conclusively and preclusively giving them over to Bernie Sanders.
Well, they don't. I don't think they don't have to release them to a specific person, but like they can.
Yeah, but
they
that's
can
part
say
of the rules,
something,
right? So if
sure,
Hillary Clinton was like, I can't, I don't think I'm going to be able to beat Trump. Actually, I'm just going to give them all, and we can have a contested convention. What would be anti-democratic about that if the candidate themselves came to that determination? Now, if there was like some illegal activity or someone was like blackmailing Joe Biden, no, but like Joe Biden does not have an entitlement to the support of his entire party. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Imagine that Joe Biden came out and said like something incredibly inflammatory, actually said like, I support Donald Trump's entire agenda, right? Or if he said like a racial slur, although he did say like the black man when referencing Lloyd Austin. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't, but
yeah, that was a bad moment. I think like everyone would understand that the party wouldn't have to support him regardless of what he did. He lost the confidence of his party, and it's just like any parliamentary system. There, like you have to maintain the confidence of your party, and if you don't, you may not have the advantages. But ultimately, the decision is going to be his, whether he wants to stay or not. And there's nothing anti-democratic about Biden being presented that choice, and by other members of the community, donors, representatives, voters themselves, using their First Amendment rights to say, "Hey, we don't have the confidence right now that you're going to be able to beat Donald Trump." That's totally within the bounds of the game. Anyway, that's my only point.
I will say, can we agree on this point? Okay.
Yeah.
Whether the Democrats need to decide, the DNC needs to decide if they want to stay or if they want to change, and there can't be this behind the scenes chatter is some bullshit. They need to come together and figure out their shit. If you're going to replace him, then get everybody on board with the messaging and get everybody, coherent, cohesive, and, ready to campaign for whoever the new person is, or the open process, whatever you choose, and do it. And if you're not, then get everybody to shut the up and fall in line. This idea of like the leaks and the high level lawmakers and AOC going on and TikTok and it's like, Jesus, what the is happening? Yeah. My God.
I think that they have decided. And I think that the person who hasn't decided is Joe Biden. And I think this is...
You really think so?
I think so. Yeah. And y'all can disagree if you want, but my take on everything is that the majority of the party, at least the important people in the party, have made up their minds, and this is escalation warfare. And it's just, showing their hand that, listen, this will get worse and more embarrassing for you, Mr. Biden, if you don't, agree with us. I think that once you have, Pelosi, Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, all being sourced and, with leaked parts of those calls saying you should step down and them not denying it, if they're all in favor of him stepping down, who's going to be against it?
Are we 100% that they're all in favor of him stepping down? Like,
if they weren't, why wouldn't they deny it?
I don't know what the policies are for these types of people, but like, let's say that it gets leaked for 5 people. You might have a policy where you just don't confirm or deny anyway, because if 4 people come out and deny it, then you basically have confirmation on the 5th person because some people are breaking. But I don't know like what their ordinary policies would be, right? Like, for instance, like the United States or like Israel, like when assassination happened, like the U.S. just doesn't comment. They don't like deny everything except for the things they did, and they say no comment. They just say no comment categorically, right?
But they're being coy about stuff, and I think that the reporting is absolutely true. And there's too many. It's too well sourced. And you have Sherrod Brown just came out today. It's going to keep coming. I think they've made up their mind, and I think that decision is a wise decision. And I think that Joe Biden is very angry and hurt by that decision. And I feel for him because he has been an exceptional president in my mind, and he feels like he's earned a second presidency. But like, that's not. We have to think about the country first, and it's not anti-democratic to say, Joe, look, you're losing support. You don't have the confidence of us. Make the right decision. If he decides to stay in, I will disagree with that decision, but I will absolutely support him 100%. But that's just what I see it. I don't think it's anti-democratic. It's his choice, and it's fine for people to voice their concerns. That's totally within the rules of the game. In democracy, you're allowed to speak your voice, and you're allowed to argue for certain policies that are within the rules.
Interesting. Huh. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not going to put you on the spot because...
On the spot for what?
Well, I could.
For what? What am I on the spot for?
Gun to your head right now. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. Who do you prefer to be candidate right now?
Bro, why?
You don't have to answer that.
Yeah, that's a hard one. Jesus Christ.
Biden's strongest warrior right now.
Are you going to be Kamala's strongest warrior?
No. I mean, like, if
who do you think Kamala would choose?
Warrior, why don't you say Joe Biden?
Well, because obviously he's had a lot of trouble, right? I didn't like the swing state polls. The things that I just saw this morning didn't look too hot. But man, Kamala Harris, oof. Who do you think she would choose for VP? I'm guessing there's not even like a hint of that, right?
I think Mark Kelly's been talked about.
Okay.
Think about how delicious that would be. Mark Kelly, Arizona, back on the map.
Okay.
Oh.
Huh.
You're liking it, aren't you?
Well, I don't know how I'm talking about the black female presidential candidate when we've already got the conservatives railing on the DEI and blah, blah, blah. And like, I don't know.
You don't believe all that.
I don't believe all that.
DGG has fallen. This entire, I mean, like, come on. If you believe that really with your heart, you would say
Believe
Joe Biden,
what?
of course. That was your answer not 2 weeks ago. You said Joe Biden, of course. I'm not going to vote for that. But now you're rethinking. And it shows.
Okay.